and pleased to have in the studio with me Steve Beaman. Beaman, yeah. Steve Beaman, CEO, 30-year veteran of the financial industry, and author of The American Dream Under Fire and The Path to Prosperity, Financial Literacy for the 21st Century, which is actually not political. This is
the goal is to be a financially educational piece.
Right. So how to invest your money. But, you are politically conservative, and this is the essence of your book, The American Dream Under Fire. So let's talk about this. Donald Trump says we should impose a 35% tariff, which is, it's about just 2, 3, 4 points higher than the average American tariff from 1793 until the 1980s, basically. And, the destruction of the tariff-based system was something that Nixon started and Reagan really pushed really hard. And then, with NAFTA, I mean, that was just and joining GATT, which George Herbert Walker Bush negotiated and was executed during the Clinton administration, put the nail in it. And Trump says this is what we should go back to. I agree with that, although I don't agree with the way that he's talking about doing it. You're saying that instead of punishing businesses, we should be incentivizing them.
Absolutely.
Am I guessing correctly that what you mean by that is we need to cut corporate taxes,
well,
we need to give more welfare to the billionaires?
I don't see a tax cut as welfare. That's keeping the money you earn first. It's not a gift. It's just simply keeping what you have. But
as a business, you don't earn money in a vacuum. You use the commons. I am using the commons right now.
And they pay for roads and streets, and they pay for police, and they pay for people's unemployment.
You pay for that via taxes, right? And you're saying cut those taxes, so stop paying for those things.
Well, we have the highest taxes in the developed world. It doesn't exactly incent.
Well, not true. We have the highest corporate tax rate of the OECD nations. Actually, it's the second highest. But the effective tax rate that we have in the United States, as you know, is only 16%.
Well, let me touch on something else, though, Tom. This is important. In 2000, we were the third most free economy in the world, next to Singapore and Hong Kong. Today, we're the 12th. We're behind Canada. The regulatory environment has grown to a point now where companies are incented to move overseas.
Now, your definition of freedom is coming right straight out of the Heritage Foundation or one of these right-wing think tanks. I've seen the analysis.
I don't know that they're right-wing.
And if you want us to be like Singapore, I'm ready to leave. I've been in Singapore. You can get executed in Singapore. I gave a speech in Singapore to a group of educators, and they said, how do we improve our schools? And I said, get active in politics. Right. I got back to my hotel room, and the secret police had come in, and this was in a 5-star hotel. They had trashed my hotel room.
We would agree on that completely.
It is a police state.
There's a difference between social stuff, as they do in Singapore and around the world, and economics. I believe that a free economy lifts a tide for all boats. It's why
it doesn't.
Well, it must. Our poor people in this country live better than most of the people around the world who have money.
I've seen the poor people in Singapore, and they are in desperate straits. There are horrible slums in Singapore.
I'm talking about in the United States.
I have walked through the slums in Hong Kong. You say these are the freest countries in the world. They have some of the most awful grinding poverty.
And I am telling you that in this country, for the first 190 years, it was our free economy that built the infrastructure we have, that built the employment we have.
What free economy? We had tariffs. We had 30% tariffs. We had a highly regulated economy.
We had
starting with George Washington.
We had tariffs before an income tax because that's how the government funded itself. It was purely a tariff-based
until the Civil War, 2/3 until World War I.
And then they put in an income tax system that changed the dynamic of that completely, as you well know. But to give especially the small business engine of this country a cut from taxation and regulation, the book The American Dream Under Fire is not a political diatribe about bad Washington. It's a change in the ethos of America from a risk-taking, free economy that generates small business like Ford Motor, Apple Computer, and I say Ford when it was Henry Ford, my company, Chicago Investment Analytics, into an economy that's so regulated those companies can't start.
Okay, you say you want to do this for small businesses. I own a small business. It's this show. Yep. My wife and I own it. You own a small business, right?
Yep.
How much income tax does your company pay?
I'm personally taxed on it, so I'm paying 39%.
So, but I'm assuming that you're zeroing your business out at the end of every fiscal or calendar year, right?
No, it comes to me through an LLC.
But the point is that your business is paying nothing in income taxes.
That's not true because I am the business.
But you're taking it as income and thus paying personal income taxes on it, just like I do.
If I left it in the business, the tax rate would be higher.
That's exactly right. At the end of the year, with my little business here, if I leave $20,000 in the checking account. It's going to get taxed, and then when I take, so now it's down to $10,000 or $15,000. Then when I take that out as salary, it gets taxed again.
And my argument,
and I get that.
My argument would be, Tom,
98% of small businesses in America pay no taxes, just like you don't and I don't.
Well, but that's a misnomer. That's a half-truth.
Pay no income tax.
It's a half-truth because that company income is flowing to the individual. So they're still paying it. The problem is, and but the argument would be this.
How is that different from a paycheck?
For the small business, because they've taken all the risk.
Well, they're also taking all the profits.
In your business, well, you should. It's your profit. You earned it. My argument would be you're better to determine the outcome of that profit, what you do with it, than a bureaucrat in Washington.
If I'm on the risk side, I'm paying nothing in taxes, right? If I'm losing money, I'm paying nothing in taxes. In fact, Donald Trump lost money, didn't pay taxes for 20 years.
If you lose money, and I've lost money in businesses, you can take that loss against future taxes. That's not exactly a criminal act.
Well, you can do it. You and I can do it. Actually, if
we do it. I mean,
well, as a sub-S corporations, we can't. But if we were C corporations, we could do it for 3 years. Donald Trump could do it for 20 years because of a weird law.
But that's not his fault. That's because the Congress here in Washington passed a weird law.
Was bought off by the real estate industry.
I wouldn't dispute that with you at all. The lobbyist system in Washington is broken. I agree with that. There are laws written for people that are too specific.
But this is my point, is that I don't see where changing the tax law, if you want to encourage small businesses in America, only 2% of small businesses in America are paying any income tax at all.
But
and the definition of small business includes Coke Industries.
The reason they don't keep money in the companies is because the tax rate at that company level is higher than the 39% they pay personally when it's all in.
No, it's not. The corporate tax rate is 35%.
And when you add state taxes into it and the rest, and the retained earnings taxes and the excess cash flow taxes, it gets higher.
You take it out because you can.
Oh, Tom, I've owned them. I know I take it out because I look at the math at the end of the year and I go, I paid less taxes here. The point is, I would have been a C Corp had there not been retained earnings penalties. I would have left money in the company, but it cost me money to do that, so I didn't.
Right, you pay taxes at the end of the year.
And so I pay less tax if I take it out personally.
You're exactly right. And that's
for you to say that the company doesn't pay tax is a misnomer, because a small business, by definition, and the owner are almost synonymous.
According to the IRS, 98% of American corporations pay nothing in income taxes.
Because the vast majority are subchapter S corporations, and that doesn't pay tax. Neither does an LLC.
That's fine. So we've agreed on that, and I think kind of burned through an unnecessary 4 minutes to get to that point. My point being that because we're running out of time here, my point being that tax breaks are meaningless by and large in terms of stimulating the economy, unless they are tax breaks for people at the very bottom of the economy who aren't, by the way, paying income taxes to begin with. Mitt Romney's 47%. So if you want to stimulate the economy, or if you want to build the economy, I'm more in favor, frankly, of a protectionist approach where we say we're going to buy America. Just like the Senate just passed a piece of legislation, that Waters Act, right? That's going to redo the pipes and the septic systems all across America, including Flint, Michigan, a multi-billion-dollar bill. And they put in there, Republicans and Democrats together in the Senate, they put in there, you must buy this steel for these pipes in the United States.
And again,
Paul Ryan took it out.
I get it, but don't hit me with the Republicans did or the Democrats did it. I throw them all in the same pot.
But they're not in the same pot.
They are to me. They're all bought off by the lobbyists. They all do what they do to get elected. It's just, that's their universal theory.
I believe that's true of 100% of the Republican Party, with the possible exception of Olympia Snow.
I think it's true of the Democrats,
I think I doubt it's true.
That's a political opinion.
Well, look at the House Progressive Caucus. You're going to find people who are not taking corporate money. You're going to find about 100 of them.
But my point with it all, and having spent my life in finance and economics, I will tell you that if you cut taxes and change that marginal rate, you'll get stimulus. We saw it under Coolidge in the 20s, Kennedy in the 60s, Reagan in the... And don't blame Coolidge for the Depression. That was a Federal Reserve-caused behavior because they gave 90% leverage into stocks.
It was, that was one small piece of it.
That was the piece. That's what caused the market to crap.
It was Harding deregulating everything. I mean, he came in.
We would disagree on that.
But let's not relitigate the Great Depression. Right. But you mentioned the change in the 60s.
Kennedy.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was LBJ who got the tax cut through.
But it was Kennedy who pushed it, yeah.
Yeah, it was Kennedy who pushed it. That was actually a tax increase, you realize. Kennedy campaigned on it being a tax increase. We're going to close loopholes, and wealthy people are going to pay more taxes.
They cut the rate.
They cut the rate, they closed loopholes, and wealthy people
And that's what Reagan did. He cut the rate and he closed loopholes, and it raised tax revenues to the government because the economy grew.
And as David Stockman points out, Reagan only got that through because he'd been shot 3 weeks earlier, and
No matter why he
had
got
good
it
benefit.
through.
And LBJ only got the what he got through because.
But Tom, it doesn't matter
Jack
why it
Kennedy
came through. It matters the result. During the 80s, we had 8% growth rates.
You're not going to make it happen.
Well, we better, because I'd like to see
agree with
8% growth in our economy, not 2%.
Yeah, but this isn't going to produce anything close to 8%. I mean,
why not?
Because cutting taxes never have.
If we make it a more competitive, there are 3 or 4 examples where they have. You blamed the reason it got done.
I'm not saying that you can. I am absolutely
you cannot
asserting that you can.
We had 8% GDP growth in the 80s. It was partly.
It was 3.7%.
That's not true. Again,
the decade of the 80s averaged 3.1%.
And if you go down and you normalize that, and you have to for the recession of 82.
Hang on just a second.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Steve Beaman, CEO, 30-year veteran of the financial industry. SteveBeaman.com. I should have said this much earlier. Beaman. You can tweet him at Steve Beaman, STEV. Thanks, Steve. We'll be back.